Good morning, traders. It is 8:05 a.m. Sorry about the 5-minute delay. I'm starting from home today, and there's just so much more to do to update my home station. Can I get a mic check, please? Just a quick mic check. Make sure I'm not blowing out your headphones or speakers. So we're on Wednesday, the 27th of April, 2022, episode number 2221. Derivatives trading is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. So, diving right into the Convergent Trading pre-market summary sheet, we have a mixed market posture coming into today. We had a recovery. If you recall, the market sold off. It actually tried to pop higher on Microsoft, but then Google came in and squashed the market and sold off. The S&P settlement's actually 4170.5. And we ended up selling off through a major level. Do you know what level that is? It's the double TPO low at 4152.25 in the S&P. We pushed all the way down to 4136.75 overnight before we closed that session. And then we gapped open in this session and pushed higher. The low for this session is 4149 in the S&P. So overall, just a really mixed play here. Europe's flat. Russell's flat, Nasdaq's flat, Dow Jones is higher. Dow Jones was the strongest of the bunch yesterday as we sold off. We have in the S&P, crude is still hovering around $100. Nothing to add there. Overall, the near-term skew is to the upside. Near-term skew is to the upside for the session, as it's supported by movement by the Chinese PBOC and a little bounce in stocks. There's still shutdowns in China, which are threatening global supply. Also, all that news about gas being cut off to Poland and to other parts of Europe from Russia was just propaganda. It turns out there was no turning off of the spigot. And so that news was really discounted. As far as what's on deck this morning, we had the GfK consumer confidence for May in Germany, and it came in pretty bad, negative 26.5. Negative 26.5. The forecast is negative 15.1. Consumer confidence out of France came in at 88 versus 92, also pretty poor. The current account came in just ridiculously stronger for Q1 for China. China was expecting its a current account surplus of $8.5 billion for Q1. And the preliminary number came in at 89.5 billion. Holy cow. And then this morning out of the U.S., we got wholesale inventories, which came in a lot stronger, a lot higher, 2.3% versus 0.9%. Goods trade balance, retail inventories. We got pending home sales coming at 10. Crude oil, the EIA crude oil report coming in at 10:30, and ECB's President Lagarde at 12. And then we get some numbers out of Japan, the key of which is the interest rate decision, expecting to remain at negative 10 basis points, negative 0.1% at 11 p.m. Eastern U.S. time. That's what's on deck on the camera. Turning our attention to the S&P. The S&P this morning in a multi-distribution profile. We have heavy volume today, 323,000 contracts. Remember, the mode for volume over the last 252 days, which is 1 year of trading, is 228. And the edge, if the edge of what we would consider normal, is 276,000 contracts. So this is where we are. We did have some major earnings this morning before market. We had Boeing, which came in which came in much worse than expected. It was expected to lose 12 cents per share. It lost $2.75. The revenue number missed as well, 13.991 billion versus 15.83 billion. We got GlaxoSmithKline came in with an 88 cents versus 76 cents expected. We got General Dynamics came in at $2.61 versus $2.51 on higher revenues. And then Seagate also reported missing its target, came in at $1.81 versus $1.89, also missing the revenue number by a bit. After the market today, we have Ford, we have Facebook, Meta, and then we have Qualcomm, we have Amgen. Those are the major players after the market today. Okay, so that's the recap. Again, I want to draw your attention to the rotation numbers right there. Rotation numbers, find your product and make sure you note down the rotation value. A quick recap of yesterday. For those of you who attended, I talked about the, one second. I talked about the strong potential for a test down into 50, an attempt to bounce, break through 50, pull back into that 50 area. It's actually 45.50, this area right here. Bounce back into the 50, and the goal is to catch a short. That was the key trade of the day. Catch a short so as close to 50 as possible. Aim for a 30 scale. Aim for an 07 scale, and that would get us back into value. Once we get into value, we expect to test the point of control, and if the point of control doesn't hold, so this is the consolidation at the point of control, if it breaks, then we're looking for value low. We're looking for the market to traverse across value. Of course, the market did a whole lot more than that, and I've got to be honest with you, as I am every day, and I narrated these trades in the Convergent Trading Head Trader channel. It was tough catching that 50 drop, the big drop. It was a decent trading day. Some really good setups, but it was really hard to catch that pullback. So the trade, the key part of the trade, really occurred right here. Okay, so we opened, we clearly could not push higher. So the secondary scenario is that it would open and it would push higher, and in that case we'd be looking for to tag the prior day settlement up at 92.75, something like that. I don't remember what the settlement was, and that would be the initiative play away from the prior day's value, and we would expect it to revert back higher. But the key play is that it would drop into this 50 right here. So the 50 is sitting. Let's draw a line right here. That's the 50. The key play is that it would come down to the 50, bounce a little bit, fall. Here it is, folks. Here's the trade. Fall, pull back into the 50. Remember, we needed it to fall. We're not going to short the 50 as soon as it gets down there. We needed it to fall through. Pull back to the 50, and boom, it starts to move down. And the target is 42.07, which is right here on the nose, right? 42.07, and it walks itself to 07, comes back to the RTH VWAP. So we had a couple of bites at the apple, but here's the thing. When you're reading order, this is the disadvantage of the order flow, reading trying to read order flow and not focusing on what the chart is saying. This is where you get lost in the weeds, in that on this, if you look at how this high is formed, so let's draw that again. Boom, boom. Okay. You look at this high, it's back at the VWAP. So we had a couple bites at the VWAP right there, right there. This is kind of too early. This one's too early. This one's perfect. Already took out the 50 level, comes back to VWAP. That's the trade. But look at this one. What do you notice about this trade here? What do you notice about this formation? I'll give you about 5 seconds to answer. Another pop quiz. Lots of pop quizzes here. While I take a sip of my tea. Yeah, good answer there. Wall Street speculator. Very poor high. Very, very weak high. Triple top, quadruple top, a bunch of tops there. That's not a good area to short against, because if you look to the left, your risk is way up here. And that risk to me was too wide on a multi-top high, on a weak high. The expectation here is that it got down to the launch point from the prior day, down here at 42, I think. And then now it's basing and it's likely to squeeze. So guess what? Guess what? I laid out the trade. I laid out the plan. And what did I do? I committed an error. And what did that error cost? It cost approximately 30 points per contract. Per contract. And so we see this weak high. It pulls back. So I was still stocking, looking to get short, and it pulls back, puts in a higher low. And now I'm looking at this as support. I've got a weak high. I'm still looking to get short, but I'm expecting this to break before it falls. No, it doesn't. It falls, and there was a lot of volume on that drop, and we have our highest rotation of the day down here. So I'm left with basically trying to catch it right down here, unfortunately. So get scale, pulls back, get more scale out, pulls back, get in. So I'm trading. It's still setting up some pretty good trades, but I'm trading. I've kind of missed the big trade. That's just what happens when you start to read the tick charts. And it's a balance that, in my opinion, is very hard to get. To have. You sometimes need to read the tick chart. Sometimes you need to let it go and widen your stop. Unfortunately, my plan does not allow for changing stops. My stops are rotation based, backed by structure. And so I'm not going to make those decisions on the fly. Those decisions are made in the briefing room pre-flight. Once we're flying, we don't change the plan. We don't change our course. But in this case, I didn't quite follow and hang on. This was kind of a painful reminder that I'm allowing my execution to kind of fall by the wayside. If you're not executing, it's all about X. If you're not executing, then you can go and do all the analysis and homework and get the best software and beat down your broker for the lowest costs and get the lowest possible margin, so you can choke yourself to death with risk. But if you don't execute, it's all for nothing. Okay, and I did not execute, so I missed this trade here. But overall, the market did what was expected. We challenged the prior low. We challenged it right here. We had a bit of a failed auction, but really it could not get off the lows yesterday. Just could not get off the lows. And then we ended up taking that. Couldn't quite pull back to the 95 for another short, and it sold off. I did trade the Google and Microsoft releases. That was really nice. Some nice movement on Google there. A short. There was a short that set up immediately around 41.75 and ended up exploding to the downside. Very pretty trade there. What have we done since? So we closed at the lows. We closed at the lows in the RTH session with a pretty good, the point of control remained in the middle. Notice the point of control remained in the middle. Lots and lots and lots of chop here. The point of control remained in the middle yesterday. We finished in the middle. We have a kind of a neckline right up here at 34. Keep an eye on that 34 today. We have a neckline at 34. We have a neckline at the 95, and we are challenging and fighting in this 95 zone currently. So we are really fighting this lower distribution. We're not able to get away from this lower distribution, so it seems weakish still. What do we see? Another quiz, because I want you guys to learn. I don't want you to come in and be dependent on me or anyone. What are we noticing here about this current situation? Real quick, because these trader bites are getting super long. They're becoming like these full-on lessons. What are we noticing here? What are we taking away from the action, the overnight action? Oh, and by the way, we did all that yesterday on increasing delta. So the iceberg's all the way down, lots of lifting, lots of bargain shopping, or lots of hedging. What are we noticing about today? We're noticing that we're in the middle of distribution. The point of control is on top of VWAP, on top of the mid. And we are in range in the lower distribution. This is in a consolidation now. It has given up that high of 42.17. It has given up that high of 42.17. It has dropped very quickly, and it has consolidated in this area. And on top of that, we're on top of this built up area. So this morning, we have several areas to pay attention to. Excuse me, 1 second. I'm so over the winter here. We have several areas to pay attention to here. We need to pay attention to the 34. We need to pay attention to the 12. Very important, the 12. This is a bit of a magnet today. We are, in fact, on top of this strong distribution between 4,200 and 4,180. This range here, very important range. We want to see how the market treats this range on the open, and then we jump into the next distribution and the peak at 50 down here, which we tested this morning. That's the low of the current session at 50. So we have some really clear, clean areas to contend with today. I kind of like this. I kind of like this because when you have a lot of structure like this, you can pretty much define risk reward easily. Right? So you could see that yesterday was a triple distribution, and the market's likely to traverse. Once it gets above the LVN, it's likely to retest the LVN, go back to the point of control. If it's got strength, test the other side of the LVN, come back. If it still has strength, break the LVN at 34, 32, 34, come back here, and then continue to the high volume node. Makes for really methodical, beautiful trading when that happens. So that's where we are. I want to just drop a reminder in here about today's show with Futures Radio Show. We're doing every month. I'm on the show, and the show is at 12 p.m. I'm not sure why the graphic's not working properly here. It's kind of weird. It's kind of jagged. Futures Radio Show. I'm going to be on with guest Pax, Matt Kina, Pax Trader 777. He's a former pit trader. Now on the screen, I'm going to be on with Earl Counter, with Anthony Credelli. That starts at 12. We're giving Edge Clear is giving away 5 high definition cameras and 4K cameras, and those the deadline for entering is actually 11 o'clock Eastern. Go to edgeclear.com/deli to register for that. I'd like you to participate if possible. Let's take a look at what's expected for today. So as you can see, the magnet today is 12. Okay. And the over underline is well above there. We have to clear the 4250 to get above our over underline. I don't know what this is loading. Okay, so let's make this real quick. The expectation for today, the primary expectation for today, a relatively choppy open. We're opening against the point of control. We're opening against VWAP and mid. There's a lot of clustering going on here. We're opening against the lower distribution. The expectation is we are likely to challenge yesterday's low. I'm expecting us to challenge yesterday's low to get down into this 94 area. I'm expecting it to actually find buyers, push across the open, and push back to 42.12, giving us approximately a 50-point range. If it does drive through, the next big area becomes this 34 up here. So 34, 32 becomes the next area to challenge. That's scenario one. So scenario one is expected to be a bit of a resting sideways to higher. I am looking for that yesterday's low to be challenged. However, I'm looking for this thing to continue the one-time framing down. I don't believe the selling is done yet, although the market seems a little bit more optimistic today. Secondary open auction that squeezes into the 12, pushes the overnight high, consolidates up here before coming down and then sitting sideways and being stuck at the century. This is for scenario 2, another resting day. There's a third scenario today that is fairly prominent, which is to push higher into this upper zipper, upper distribution, push higher, and then impulse down as sellers resume. Remember, Google kind of crapped out, and then we challenge the low that we put in from Google, and we get down into this 41. We're challenging the swing low at 52.25. So there's a double TPO low that we left behind from March 14th, something like that. I expect us to challenge this double TPO low and the March low before we bounce back up on the close. I'm open. Essentially today, you have to be malleable. You cannot be stuck. Yesterday, we could place a pretty strong bet on that 50 retest and drop. Today, it can do pretty much anything. I mean, we did clear the deck yesterday with all the selling. It's an outstanding selling day, and today it's just you have to be ready for anything. It could rest and bounce. It could bounce and then rest, or it can bounce and sell off. It's hard to say, but be prepared with your key levels and key areas to trade against. Again, being 12, 34 above. Down below, it is this 94, 93 area, which is yesterday's low. Not yesterday's low, the day before yesterday's low, and then the 67 below that, and then the 52 and 44 beyond there. Okay, it's a mess of stuff on the screen. Yes, I get it, but that's the kind of day we're likely to get. Good luck, and I'll catch you guys at the Futures Radio Show at noon today. We're going to do the drawing live on the screen and find our winners today for those 5 cameras. Take care.